right. Chad, give me a little bit more. All right. Can you hear me? Here we go. All right. Good morning, everybody. Well, come on now. There's not. Good morning, everybody. All right. We get the distinct honor and pleasure this morning to go through a recap of a program that we've spent a lot of time on over the last, well, I'm not going to spoil that. We'll give that detail here in just a minute. A lot of years. And we're going to go through a couple of different things, but real excited about the opportunity to talk to you guys about this. Most people in this room have participated in this program at some level over the last bit. But there's still some people in this room that haven't. And there may be some of you who don't know what Last of the Leaders is. And that's fine. We're going to try to clarify that this morning. Well, so we're going to go through 4 different bullets this morning. One is what is Last of the Leaders. We're going to talk about that. We're going to recognize what the kids have done this year. And I'll go through that. Then we're going to talk about why we do Last of the Leaders. Why is it important? Why is it something that this congregation participates in? And then we'll do a brief little bit over where you guys fit into this, both from an adult perspective as well as a not quite adult yet perspective. So what is Last of the Leaders? Last of the Leaders is a program founded by Dr. Jack Zorn in 1968. He had basically 8 kids in his youth group, in his local youth group there, and he really wanted to develop something that would teach kids how to develop into Christian leaders for the church. And since then, it's grown and grown and grown, and they've had over 1 million people, or right at 1 million people, go through the program to date over the last 50 years plus. Their mission still, to this day, has held true. It is to develop youth into Christian leaders. It's divided into 3 categories, the program is. We have year-round events, pre-convention events, and then we also have several events that we do at a convention that is always on Easter weekend. The important thing to remember about Last of the Leaders, though, is that it's a year-round concept. It's not something that we do just to go to Opryland Hotel on Easter weekend. It is a program that we participate in all year long. And we'll talk about a little bit about that here in a minute. So what types of events does it include? I broke this down into basically 4 different main bullets. There's Bible study habits that are encouraged through Centurion of Scripture, where you memorize Scripture. Bible Bowl, which we had kids participate in this year for the first time in several years. Know the books, just simply knowing what the books of the Bible are. And others. Practical application. How do you take what you've learned from the Bible or what you learn here in church and apply it to your everyday life? Gifts, guard, pearls, sowers. You see the list there. There's a lot of things where events where you just are interacting on a day-to-day basis with the community and those around you and impacting other people's lives, and this gives you guidance on how to do that. Refines talents for leading worship, both through song leading, oral Bible readings, speaking. You guys have had the pleasure of listening to these kids practice their speeches a few weeks ago. Several of them lead singing during worship on a regular basis at this point. But it's a continuous learning process. Providing skill, refinement, and exposure for evangelism. The part that is often overlooked that I find to be kind of neat is that, a lot of times we say when we talk about growing or developing our kids, it's really here during service, or it's really talking to people, just interacting one-to-one. But there's a couple of events that we participate in that allow us to be able to participate in more, I'll say, obscure ways, things that aren't nearly as top of mind whenever you think about how you're going to spread the gospel or interact with other people. Art Says It is one we always do very well in, and being able to express God's love and what God's done for us through art is a unique way to reach different kinds of people. Mass media. that's something that maybe isn't as commonly thought about, but for several years we had people that placed really highly in audio presentation, video presentation, storyline, things like that. Well, Laz Leaders has developed into the next phase of that from a technology perspective. So instead of articles and editorials, right, now we've moved over to blogging, which that might be a foreign term to some of you. But basically it's writing on, and you post it on the internet instead of writing it and posting it in the newspaper. Podcasting instead of audio presentation. So how can you hold people's attention? How can you retain people's attention on a radio show? PowerPoint storylines still remain true, but the Laz Leaders continues to evolve as society and culture evolves and ways that we can reach people in our communities. So this is a bit difficult to read. I played with every single color on this, so I apologize. This is the best I could do with this background picture. The 2021 theme was the Lost Convention. The 2020 theme was Lost. The 2021 base theme was Better Than. So they combined them both into the Lost Convention. And the reason for that is we didn't get to go to convention last year. You guys know that. We had somewhat of a difficult year. They allowed us to utilize the speeches and the songs that the kids had practiced on the previous year if they wanted to, or they could completely start over and start from scratch. So the theme, you could use either Lost from Luke 15 or Hebrews to cover Better Than. Bible Bowl was over Hebrews. It was held across 9 locations. Colorado just finished up yesterday. That was the 9th location. Roughly their year was impacted just like everybody else's. Not only did they not have the convention last year, but they were only at about 36% of attendance against what was signed up in 2020. So we had at Nashville roughly 3,600 attendees. For the record, we had somewhere around 9,400, I believe, signed up for 2020. So it was a bit smaller, a little easier to get around Opryland Hotel for those of you who weren't able to go this year. But it was a good year for it to be your first year because you could learn where everything was without stepping over each other. So, but anyway, it was a little bit down. And we had to adjust to several COVID protocols. You'll see on the photos here as we go through this, a lot of masks. A lot of people had badges with different colored dots on there where we had to measure everybody's temperature every morning before we went into the different events, which, kind of looking for the silver lining on things, wearing a mask when you're speaking or wearing a mask when you're song leading, it really encourages you to have to project a little bit. So some of these kids that were a little bit more used to being quiet had to really dig deep down inside their lungs to deliver the message that they had prepared. So I don't know that we'll make that a common practice, guys, but it was good to do once. Portland had 31 kids, 39 adults, making around 70 people from our congregation attend. The piece that I didn't realize until we got there is there were several of you who couldn't go that normally come up that you don't register, you just come up to support the kids during the weekend. And I will tell you that the suite felt a little bit more empty than it normally did, and we really did miss you guys. But we did have 70 people that were registered that were able to attend. We had babies to over 70 years old, spanning 3 generations in some cases, and we even had a 4th generation show up when baby Harrison showed up with Taylor and Grant from their church to show up and visit with us a little bit. Multiple adults aided in coaching or training that did not attend, and we're eternally grateful for that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to run through a little bit of recognition. I'm going to call you guys up. I'm going to call your name, and you're going to come across here, and then you go wherever you want to go. Stay in the room, though. Don't leave, okay? All right. So we'll rock it through this pretty quick, too, so don't dally. All right? We got a lot of slides to get through. 2, 3, go. This is special for Ellie and Carrie. They were our Parade of Leaders winners. They were so happy about it, they were dancing with the flag right before they marched up on stage. Parade of Leaders, we always make that a big deal. We vote on character, example, and leadership, and the kids all vote on that. And those two were selected this year by their peers. We're very proud of them for that. Aspen Osbrooks. We're not going to ask Aspen to come up here because Aspen is in class. She didn't do any events yet, but she sure did love the sweet, and she did love those Red Hot Peeps. She took part in those quite a bit. If I were reading Aspen's mind, I would think that she would be saying, "Last leaders better hold on tight when I get big enough to participate." So talked to Heather just a minute ago. This is Aspen's first award for Last Leaders, so we will make sure she gets that here after class. Caden Osbrooks, and if you'll look as I bring these guys up, Caden, come on, pop on up here, brother. I've got the events they participated in, and in parentheses, I've got the how they placed in those. So Caden did all of those events up there. Good job, Caden. That was weak, man. And we're going to go in alphabetical order, so you guys can probably predict the next one. I've lost it, Brent. There we go. Evan. Come on up, Evan. Evan had several things that he placed in as well. Good job, Evan. Great job, brother. There you go. Jake. Jake, as the kids get older and they get into high school and they do different things, their schedule busies up a little bit. Jake had several things going, but he still made time to be there. And as you'll notice, he also went ahead and placed in song leading, first place. Good job, Jake. Hannah. Hannah's got a new world next year. She decided she was going to go ahead and knock out winning everything from song leading and speech in 1 year, and she'll be participating in Winner's Circle next year in both. Great job, Hannah. Hey, y'all make sure that this got y'all's names on them if I've already given you a certificate. Couldn't find a picture of Eli in our Facebook and other records, but Eli did place bronze in Good Samaritan, and we'll talk about awards and what that means here in a minute and how that separates out, but he was recognized as a bronze recipient of a Good Samaritan event. Addison DePriest. Addison also, we had a few of these kids that signed up, participated, but for whatever reason, different reasons, they weren't able to participate, but we still recognize them for their work that they did throughout the year. And as I mentioned earlier, with it being a difficult year, it's important to note that even when we weren't able to gather and even when we weren't able to do the things we normally did, some of these kids still worked through the year to serve others and to make sure our messaging was current and up to date inside the building. And Addison did Bulletin Board and Good Samaritan. Same thing with Lily. Lily DePriest was also participant in year-round Bulletin Board and Good Samaritan, as well as Taylor. And we'll see some of their work here in just a minute in case you haven't been around the building to see the bulletin boards that they've all worked on. Jay Guthrie. Jay Guthrie did art, Good Samaritan, speech, and group banner. You'll notice a lot of our participants are already in Winner's Circle, and a lot of these, and we'll talk about what Winner's Circle means here in just a minute. Good job, Jay. Mason has suddenly had the real world hit him a little bit and realized he had to work, but Mason also put in a lot of work for this congregation through the years. You'll notice he got accomplished a gold award for Good Samaritan. So good job, Mason. Isaac Hunt. Isaac also wasn't able to be there, but Isaac participated in Know the Books as well as Good Samaritan. I think that's an appropriate picture of Isaac. He looks like he's about ready to take off. Josiah, also Good Samaritan and Know the Books. And participating for his first year, I believe, is Big Bad Mac Keith. And as Mac makes his way up here, you'll see that he went ahead and participated in 4 different awards. And while Mac's coming up, I'll go ahead and explain. For second grade and down, those are non-competitive events. You still get to participate in all the same things that you normally would, but it's just, let's get the kids up there, let's teach them, let's let them get used to being up in front of people. And I'll say Mac knocked it out of the park. He did awesome. Don't you think you did awesome, Mac? Yeah. All right, give me knuckles. Look at there. There you go, big man. Mallory Monday came to play in the art category. She did very, very well. The one thing that I'm super proud of Mallory for is on individual scrapbook. That's the first scrapbook we've turned in years. And that's not something that you can do in an hour's time. Mallory did a great job on that. Good job, Mallory. You see, she got a first place finish on that. Ava Montandon. All right. You guys will see here in a minute when we were able to separate Ava and Wyatt from one another. She did very, very well as well. I'm sorry. Good job, Ava. Ellie Montandon. And I'll just go ahead and skip to the deal here. All three of the Montandon kids have a lot of bullet points there, and they all did very, very well in all of those. Good job, Ellie. Like the video earlier, your pirouette was very good. All right, Levi Montandon. Ellie and Levi both got in top 10 on their Bible Bowl scores, and again, I said that in their age divisions. And as I said, that's the first time we've done Bible Bowl at the convention in probably 6 years, I think. So good job for both of you. That's a lot of work. I'm proud of you. Livia, same as Eli Cassidy, wasn't able to be here, but they both did Good Samaritan. Both accomplished a bronze rating on that. Lost it again, Brent. There we go. Weston Napier. Weston had 5 events that he participated in. Weston lost his voice halfway through Thursday somehow. I think it probably has something to do with the fact that he never slows down. But when you talk about a learning opportunity, he couldn't really speak, he couldn't really sing, but he still got up in front of everybody and he did the absolute best he could with it. And I think he did a phenomenal job. So good job, Weston. Will Napier. Will, the thing I'll point out about Will, brag a little bit as a father here. Will was in Winter Circle. He finished 3rd in Winter Circle. He placed. We'll talk about colors in a minute, but we competed with red and blue color. So he finished 3rd out of both colors and was actually selected to speak at worship service Sunday morning in front of a few hundred up to 1,000. I don't remember how many was in there. People. So real proud of Will. He represented the congregation very well. So good job, Will. That's not a very common thing. I believe the last people we've had selected to participate in service were our very own Sam Carroll and Parker Lusk. Was it Parker or Christian? Parker. Wyatt Napier. We've already spoken about how Wyatt spent most of his time. And that was a good Joe Biden impression. Good job. All right. Wyatt participated in Good Samaritan. The thing that I want to point out about Wyatt is that on a last second substitution, we called an audible. Brought in the young kid for the Bible Bowl team. We had somebody that had to step out. And that team still finished as finalists. So Wyatt didn't tank the team, even though he was a last-second addition. So good job, Wyatt. You did very well. All right. Is Alex down here? Alex. Alex finished the year with Good Samaritan. And what I noticed when I was going through all the Good Samaritan posts on the different things is that some of these kids were participants, and they did a lot. And they seem like they're always here, but I never can find them in the photos. So I don't know if they just run from the cameras, but Alex, I did find this one photo of Alex. Alex did a lot of work this year and was able to accomplish a bronze award for Good Samaritan. Carrie Pruitt. Look at all them bullet points, Carrie. You were busy. Carrie, as you can see, she came to play similar to Mallory. She was a first place finisher in speech, second place finisher in songs of praise. She did work hard through all year, though. And what you'll notice on the photos when we go through those here in just a second is that Carrie was an active participant in all three categories that we divided the video out this year. So Carrie's a very hard worker, and she's someone that we are very, very proud of. Good job, Carrie. Braden Thornton. Braden may not be here. Braden had a busy day. Braden was similar to Will. They had a very light work at the convention as far as the events that they placed and the way that their schedule worked. They were able to space their events out, and they weren't stepping over each other, stepping over others throughout the weekend. But Braden did an excellent job on both speech and song leading. But also Braden was a participant in art and finished first in photography as well. Colby Ward. I don't think Colby knew that he was going to get an award, but that's okay. Colby's similar to Mason. He's a hard worker, but he also puts in work out of the goodness of his heart here. Colby does a lot of things without expecting any kind of recognition and any type of being called out and congratulated, and that's something that I think is a very good trait. Colby got Good Samaritan, and he also participated in the Pearls class. So thank you, Colby. Thank you. Does that say Colby?
Really? You had to do that. Wow.
It was Justin's. You look so much alike, Colby. I don't know. All right, Justin. Justin, every single picture that I found of Justin, he was with somebody. Justin is a very social person, as you guys know. He's a big-hearted guy, too, similar to Colby. He does a lot of things just because. He's up here a lot helping Ed out, and anytime I've ever asked Justin to do something, he's enthusiastically saying yes. Again, good characteristic to have. So Justin accomplished the bronze in Good Samaritan, and he also participated in the Pearls class. So good job, Justin. Love the hair, Justin. Emerson White. Emerson wasn't able to attend the convention, but Emerson did accomplish a level 1 bronze on Know the Books. And she also was a silver recipient of Good Samaritan. And Dawn, I'll just bring you this in a little while. Find a different way to put these down. All right. Hope Wilbur. Hope participated in 4 events. Hope's a second grader this year, and she will step up to the competition level next year for the different events that she participates in. And Hope's a ball of energy, and real excited about the work that she's going to do over the next several years. There we go. Charlie Kate. Charlie Kate has several bullets there as well. She was busy going up and down on the stage on awards night. What I found about you, Charlie Kate, is every picture you have a really big smile, but you pose very well. Nobody ever grabs a weird look on your face. So I don't know how you do that. You're going to have to teach somebody. But Charlie Kate was a silver recipient in Good Samaritan. And then also she finished second place in speech. So great job, Charlie Kate. You going to shake my hand? There you go. Does that say Charlie Kate or does it say Corbin? All right. I don't want to have you mad at me like Colby. All right. Corbin. Pop up here, Corbin. Corbin participated in 4 different events, song leading and speech. Corbin, you're a 3rd grader, right? So this was your first year to compete, wasn't it? No, well, I mean, you did it. You did 2nd grader last year, right? All right. I didn't think you jumped from kindergarten to 3rd. But Corbin did very, very well. The funny thing about Corbin is I didn't know that you were such a fun guy. You know, you're going to see some pictures of you here in a minute. You're a pretty fun dude. You and I need to hang out sometime. You don't think so? All right. Well, I'll give you your certificate anyway. Good job, Corbin. You did great. So that's our list of people that participated, or kids anyway that participated. I think probably it's good. Let's just give them a round of applause real quick. All right, so let's spend a little bit of time going through why we do Last of the Leaders. As you can see up here on the stage, we've got a lot of the artwork that people worked on. And if your vision's really well, you can see that a lot of those have little ribbons on them. So we've got, just on this easel alone, we've got 4 first-place winners and 2 third-place winners and a second-place winner. So a lot of these kids put a lot of work in, and they do a lot of good work. This is not something that you guys typically get to see. We do the practice for speech, we do the practice for song leading, but there's a lot of other things that go into it. So why Last of the Leaders? We've been participating in Last of the Leaders for 20 years. This was our 20th year to participate in this program, based on what I've been able to find. I think our first year was 2001. And the thing about a program is you never want to do it just because you've always done it. Right? There's no reason to continue to participate in something if it isn't yielding some sort of fruit. But the program has influenced a great number of kids throughout that 20 years. If you look back at the ones who participated in those programs, we've got a lot of kids that have gone on to do big things, either here or in other congregations elsewhere. And the other thing is that they've also developed a lot of life skills through this, but also in conjunction with other things that help them out and whatever their secular job is as well. Arguably, I don't believe that we have another program in this church or in this congregation that spans so many different generations and so many different age groups and brings them together as Last Leaders. We have, as you saw before, we had from babies up to 70s at the convention, but that's year-round too. We've got that same age group, that same age bracket interacting with one another, participating in the different events. And the other piece of that is this isn't a program that's an adder. For the most part, everything that we're doing are things that we strive to do day to day anyway. Teaching kids to read the Bible more, we strive to read the Bible more. Teaching kids to interact with those around them and spread the gospel, those are things that we strive to do on a day-to-day basis anyway. And this just gives us a little bit more incentive and an encouragement and a deadline to say, hey, I want to accomplish these goals by this time. So I think that when you look at it from that lens and you look at it from that perspective, it's just a way to encourage us to continue to strive to be better. And those last 2 bullets are the ones that I think are most important on here, because, you know, obviously as we get older, somebody else is going to have to pick up the mantle at some point, and I think it's our job to pass the things that we know along to those kids as they come up. And it's also important, if we're going to participate in a program, to do one that isn't too difficult to participate in, isn't too difficult to maintain, because it's something that we're doing anyway. Got a little quote here from Calvin Coolidge. All growth depends on activity. There is no development physically or intellectually without effort, and effort means work. So how does it help us? Last Leaders challenges us as leaders. Just from an internal self-reflection standpoint, are we coaching for the convention or are we coaching for life? Are we presenting the right material and events for our current makeup of kids? It challenges us to continuously look at each year, how are we making sure that we're reaching the kids in the best way. It challenges us as students. We're never too old to continue to learn. No matter how old you are in this room, Bible study and continuing to grow and continuing to develop is an important thing for each of us to do on our own. And setting that example for the kids by being students ourselves is something that this program encourages us to do. It challenges us as parents. Jennifer gets on to me all the time. So, but do we set good examples through our own actions, or do we just push the kids along to just get this done, get this done, get this done? It forces us to step back and say, hey, let's make sure we're doing this for the right reasons. And I'm going to share something on that here in a minute that I was super proud of this weekend, or that weekend. And then, do we encourage the kids to do their best, or do we push them until this becomes a job? I think a lot of times we see a lot of kids drop out of a lot of events, not just in Last of the Leaders, but also other programs that we try to participate in or we try to take on, because we're saying you have to do it, you have to do it, you have to do it, instead of telling them the why. This is the benefit. This is why you're gonna be able to use this later, or this is why this is something that you'll be interested in. So it forces us to kind of back up and take a look to keep the kids engaged. And I think all three of those areas being challenged in general is a very good thing for each of us. All right. So where do you fit in? I'm going to ask a question real quick. But it's not that I'm going to ask you for a donation. No money. I'm going to ask you how comfortable you are in several different categories, both as a kid and as a student and as an adult. And you'll see this in a minute. Joshua 1:9 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. And do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." Sneak peek, that's the theme for next year. So how comfortable are you specifically? And I don't mean this in a negative way where you should feel guilty about this. What I'm asking you is, how good are you at leading worship, leading singing, public speaking, public reading, public prayer? How comfortable are you in recognizing opportunities to share the gospel through good deeds and interacting with other people and taking advantage of those opportunities when you get somebody's attention? Through social media, how are you interacting with our social media platforms? Through PowerPoint, that's what this is. Through art. What about setting an example for your children, and if you don't have children around you or other people around you who may not have a church home, in your daily Bible study, in your knowledge of Scripture, defending your faith and explaining the why behind your actions or beliefs? The good news is, if you're comfortable with any of this, then you have an opportunity to pass that along to these kids. On the flip side, if you're not comfortable with any of this, this is a program that could help you become comfortable with it. So either way, no matter which side of the line you stand on, this is a program that can really, not to continue using the same phrase, but it can continue to help us grow. So do you share your talents with others? Not necessarily kids, but training is essential for our kids to be successful. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Ephesians 6:4, "And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord." I've said this before. There's one of the phrases we use at work. There's three types of people in the world. Firstly, there are people who make things happen. Then there are people who watch things happen. And lastly, there are people who have no idea what's going on. This particular quote I pulled from the Champion in All of Us, but it is a phrase we use all the time. Which of the three are you? Do you make things happen? Do you watch things happen? Or do you just not have a clue what's going on around you? So before we go into that next step on how you guys can get involved, I want to show you just a sneak peek for about 4 or 5 minutes of what we had happen this year as part of this congregation. Brent?
Said I wasn't gonna tell anybody, but I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. I said I wasn't gonna tell anybody, but I couldn't keep it to myself. What the Lord has done for me, for me. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. Save my soul, save my soul. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. Put my name on the road. I keep walking, and I keep talking, and I keep singing, I keep shouting what the Lord has done for me, for me. I said I wasn't gonna sing about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. Said I wasn't gonna sing about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. Oh, what the Lord has done for me, for me. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. When He saved my soul, save my soul. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. When He put my name on the road. I keep walking, oh, I keep talking, and I keep singing, I keep shouting what the Lord has done for me, for me. Said I wasn't gonna preach about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. Said I wasn't gonna preach about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. What the Lord has done for me, for me. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. Save my soul, save my soul. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. When He put my name on the road, and I keep singing, I keep shouting what the Lord has done for me, for me. Oh, said I wasn't gonna shout about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I said I wasn't gonna shout about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. Oh, what the Lord has done for me, for me. 'Cause you ought to have been there, ought to have been there. When He saved my soul, save my soul. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. When He put my name on the road. I keep talking, I keep singing, I keep shouting what the Lord has done for me, for me. Well, I said I wasn't gonna pray about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. But I said I wasn't gonna pray about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. Oh, what the Lord has done for me, for me. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. When He saved my soul, save my soul. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. When He put my name on the road. And I keep talking, I keep singing, I keep shouting what the Lord has done for me, for me. Oh, said I wasn't gonna shout about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. Oh, no, I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. Oh, I said I wasn't gonna shout about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. Oh, what the Lord has done for me, for me. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. When He saved my soul, save my soul. You ought to have been there, ought to have been there. Oh, when He put my name on the road. I keep singing, I what the Lord has done for me. You ought to have been there when He saved my soul. You ought to have been there when He put my name on the roll. I said, I'll keep shouting what the Lord has done for me. You ought to have been there when He saved my soul. You ought to have been there when He put my name on the roll. I said, I'll keep shouting what the Lord has done for me. I'll keep saying what the Lord has done for me. I'll keep shouting what the Lord has done for me. Yeah.
Well, that ended quickly. Let's do the next year's theme is Be Strong and Courageous. Brent, bring that back up just real quick. So we already talked about what it entails a little bit as far as the events, but I'll hammer through these last 3 slides just in the interest of time. Year-round events are incorporated in our standard Bible study timelines, devotional worship service whenever they're able. So you guys don't have to spend a lot of extra time if you wanted to get involved. But ultimately, didn't that look like a lot of fun? And there's a lot of smiles on those kids' faces. There's a lot of smiles on the people in the suite. There's a lot of smiles on everybody's faces. So it's something that truthfully, it's hard to watch something like that and not want to be a part of it and not want to be interacting with these people or these kids. So it doesn't take a lot of extra time on year-round events. They are incorporated in our standard timelines when we're already here. Event practices for convention or pre-convention typically occur right before Sunday night. And you don't have to attend to be there. Now, I want to address one thing with awards real quick because awards typically are a point of contention. So awards are fun to receive, but awards generate an achievable goal and a clear deadline for the kids. They're not necessarily the receipt of the awards isn't as important as just reaching that deadline. It does recognize the achievement of what the kids do and how they grow. We did get 75 different forms of recognition this year, with 31 of those being in competition settings. But most of all, as I said, they're not important. So how can you get involved? Participate in events. Become a participant. You're never too old to grow. Volunteer. We need your help. We need judges. We need coaches. We need examples for the kids. We need mentors. And then watch for updates as we go throughout the year. And that is it. So I know the bell's already rang, but if there's any questions, you guys are certainly welcome to see me now or after service as well, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So that'll be it for this morning.